Hello and welcome, dear crypto friends. After this long pause, it was Christmas time and I hope you had a nice Christmas. I hope you celebrated nicely. Coins were a bit boring, of course, so that's why I didn't make another video, but I hope you had a nice time with your family and so on. So let's get right back into the market and see what is happening in crypto land and when can we expect our nice gains? What's going on? I came up with some crazy ideas which I want to share with you now about the next Bitcoin cycle top. When will it be? When will the cycle top be? How high will it be? And what is the logic behind this, right? What is the logic behind this? And in case you're wondering why, Sebastian, is your skin so oily or shiny, that's because I use a moisturizing cream for my face so that I don't get wrinkles, because I'm old already, so I have to stay young and fresh. And that's why I put on a moisturizing cream, an anti-aging cream. I follow the American Psycho Patrick Bateman morning routine. Every day I do the morning routine, except I cannot do 1,000 crunches yet. But apart from that, I follow his routine, and this also transformed me into a complete psycho, not an American psycho, but a coin psycho. And I want to share with you now the ideas of that coin psycho mind. I came up with some bizarre and weird ideas now over Christmas, some fascinatingly bizarre ideas which I now want to share with you regarding, of course, Bitcoin and the crypto market. So, are you ready? Are you ready to be totally blown away by some bizarre stuff? Let's start. So, we start with the Bitcoin liquid index as always, right? The long-term chart. I have opened it here already, and 1 bar is 1 day now. This is the daily chart because we need a super precise chart for our American Psycho crazy considerations, okay? We need a super precise chart. This is like the long-term trend channel. I will deactivate it now because in this video we fascinatingly will not need it, okay? Now, what do I want to talk about today? I was thinking, and in my mind I was thinking about the cycles. How long will the cycle be? When will the cycle top be? How high will this top be? How high? 200,000, 300,000, 150,000, when? In 3 months, in half a year, in 1 year, when? So I was thinking. So I was comparing the cycles in my mind, and then I went to the PC, and then I went to the first cycle, right? The first cycle when Bitcoin started trading. August 2010, in July 2010, it was listed at Mt. Gox, and it experienced immediately a cycle, a really brutal cycle, which went from like a few cents up to $32, which is an insane growth. So I'm taking that cycle now, okay? We go over here and we overlay it with the date of the last Bitcoin halving. So when was the last Bitcoin halving? It was on the 11th of May. So we overlay this cool graph here, which represents the first cycle. We overlay it, and the 11th, let me just see, is here. So let us overlay it here. Yes. So that it exactly starts on the 11th. It exactly starts trading on the 11th. Okay, this is not super precisely possible. Okay, now like this. And so that this floor here, you see, this floor structure coincides with our floor structure, which we witnessed this year in 2020 in June and July last year. Okay, so what we see is now percentage wise, like if we would overlay the first cycle now above our situation right now, we would basically see that this cycle was much more aggressive. And if it was to repeat right now, we would be going to $4,696,265. So we would go to around $4.7 million. I think we can all agree that this is quite insane and probably very much out of the question. Let's make this one yellow here. Okay, Now we go to the second cycle, and the second cycle, it started like, where is the starting point? Well, in the second cycle, it's not that it started trading somewhere, it was already trading, but the second cycle started with the first halving. And the first halving was on November 28th, 2012. November 28th, 2012. So let's go to the 28th of November, and let's from there on make the whole overlay, so the whole cycle. Then we drag this here over, we drag it over. By the way, I'm doing all this in TradingView. TradingView is an online platform where you can obviously trade and do charting and stuff. I will link to it in the description, because you can also find me there. I'm also sometimes active there and publish some charts. Okay, so we overlay it now, and the starting point, we said, is now the last Bitcoin halving, which is the 11th, which was on the 11th of May, right? So we overlay it here, bam, and we also see to it that the floor structure matches the floor structure of the first cycle and of our current cycle, right? Let me just check. It's really the 11th. Yes. So the first bar is really on the 11th of May, and the floor is also nicely about the same as the other cycles. Okay. So what can we see already? We can already see that the second cycle was not only longer than the first one, but it was also not as high. It only went to around, if it would happen now, if this cycle would have happened now, we would have gone to 823,000 by May 2021 after the halving, which obviously did not happen. Then the third Bitcoin cycle came because we had the second halving. And if I'm not mistaken, this second halving, let me just check, was on the 9th of July 2016. So let's go to July, 9th of July 2016. Perfect. And now let's also just overlay it here with our other cycles. Let's choose a different color. Let's make it, I don't know, pink. So where do we put the floor? Yeah, we can put it maybe here. It's like a combination of the first floor and the second one, so that the median value might correspond a bit to the floors we had before, because we cannot perfectly overlay it. The first floor and the second floor are not exactly the same, but you know what I mean, right? So basically I'm overlaying this here. And yeah, what do we see now? What do we see? So we see the following. The third cycle is even longer than the first two and even lower. So if we would have had this cycle now after the halving, we would have already seen the top in October 2021, on 19th of October, at 305,000, which obviously did not happen. Wow, what a surprise. So what we are seeing is that the cycles are lengthening, right? The cycles are lengthening, but by how much? By how much? Now, in order to find out this, we need to make some date ranges. Okay, let's take the first bar, which is the 11th of May, and we get for the first cycle a duration of 325 days. Now, for the second cycle, we do the same, and we get a duration of 367 days. We do the same for the third cycle, and we get a duration of 526 days. This is interesting. This is like, okay, the first cycle, how much longer is the first cycle than the second cycle? So 367 divided by 325 is 1.129. Let's keep that in mind. 1.129. Now, the third cycle is 526 days, 526 days divided by 367 is 1.433. And we had the first one that was 1.129. So 1.433 divided by 1.129 means that the third cycle is 1.26 times the ratio of the ratio of the third cycle to the second cycle is 1.269 times of the ratio of the second cycle to the first cycle, okay? This is like the ratio of the ratio. It's a bit stupid, a bit complicated at first, but basically this is just like how much longer are the ratios themselves getting, right? Because we can see this is not the same ratio. The third to the second cycle is not the same ratio of the length as the second to the first one, okay? So this is also lengthening. So we see it's 1.269. So if we multiply that by 1.433, which was the ratio of the third to the second cycle, we see that it's right now the ratio of this fourth cycle to the third cycle should be 1.819. So what does this mean? 1.819. I'm sorry for really my stupid way of explaining this stuff, but I think you know what I mean. So the ratio now of the fourth to the third cycle should be 1.819 times, so the duration should be 1.819 times 526, which is 956 days. What? 956 days? Man, that's long. Look at this, 956. That would be, lo and behold, the 23rd of December 2022. Yes, that is right. If now the same logic would continue as from the first to the second cycle. As from the first, let me make this smaller so it's more visible. Let me make it smaller so that it is more visible. Yes, like this here, look. So we would have basically 900. What did I say? I forgot it now again. How many days was it? 956. 956. So the cycle top would be in December, 23rd of December 2022, okay? Let's keep that in mind. Let's delete the other bars. We don't need them anymore. We just need this one because that is the most important one. And starting point is 11th of May 2020. And the endpoint we said the 23rd of December after 956 days. So if this theory is the correct one, and we don't know if it's correct, but we can just see that the cycles are getting not proportionally longer, but they are getting over proportionally longer. So if this theory proves to be correct, then the cycle top is still 1 year away. What? 1 year? I cannot wait so long. Are you crazy? What should I do with my life until then? You know, I want insane gains now. Okay, but we have to apparently be a bit more patient if that theory proves to be correct. But we don't know if it will be the correct one, because it could also be that the cycles are now not getting over proportionally longer and then this was just an aberration. So in my older videos, I was saying that the factor of 1.43, this is the ratio of the length of the third cycle compared to the second one, is the ratio which we will have now. So if this would be the case, so this would, we said it's 1.433. So 1.433 times the length of the third cycle, is 526 days. If that would be the case, then 526 times 1.433 is 753 days. Okay, so 753 is 3rd of June. Yes, 3rd of June 2022. So I would put now, I mean, we don't know exactly how much it's lengthening this time, but I would say the earliest date now, this is my new update on what I'm thinking currently. I would say the earliest possible date for the top of the next, for the top of this Bitcoin cycle is the 3rd of June next year, 3rd of June 2022. And the latest date, or another possible date, is December 2022, around Christmas time. So December next year, in 1 year. Crazy. So okay, that's about the timing. But now what about the height? Like what about the cycle height? We can see already that this follows some funny curve, you know. It's like it's not linearly getting lower, the cycle tops. It's not a linear curve in the logarithmic chart. So remember, this is the y-axis is logarithmic. So basically this means that we have some other logic behind this. It must be some kind of curve or something, right? I mean, you can draw curves in TradingView, but they are crap because they are not based on any mathematical function. But just for visualization purposes, I could make a curve like this, and then I can say, oh look, it's declining quite a lot, and it must now not be the ratio. Must be kind of like in a kind of descending weird curved channel, like how high the top will be, right? So let's do a calculation. So we said the first top, if we would have repeated now after the last halving in May 2020, if we would have the first rally, we would have gone to 4.7 million. Okay, to 4.7 million. So 4.7 million. Then the second cycle top, if we would have seen the second cycle, we would have gone to 837,000, something like that. So we take the ratio 4.7 million, right? So 4.7 million and divide it by 837,000, 5.61. Okay, that is 5.61. The ratio of the tops here is 5.61. So what is the ratio of the second cycle top, which would have gone now to 830,000, to the third one, which would have gone to 304,000? Okay, so we take 837,000 and divide it by 300. Let me zoom in a bit. Yeah, 300, let's say 305,000, okay? Let's say 305,000. We would have 2.74. 2.74 is the ratio of these tops here, okay? So we see that there's a declining trend. So there's like these tops here are further apart from each other by a factor of 5.61 than these tops here. So it's diminishing. So if this trend would continue, what is the ratio again of the ratios? What is 5.61 divided by 2.74? It's 2.047. So if this trend would continue, let us divide 2.74 by 2.047. This is 1.338. Okay, this here, if this would continue, which we don't know, we're just speculating around because we went onto the American Psycho trip and like we used too much cleaning lotion and moisturizing lotion, and now we're getting completely crazy about coins and think too much about coins, you know. And now we come up with these crazy ideas, and we have now 1.338 as a possible ratio of this current cycle top as compared to the last one. So what would this mean? This would mean we take 305,000, okay? 305,000 and divide it by 1.338. And then we get 228,000. 228,000. Keep that in mind. Is it really? Did I make a mistake? Let me just check again. Oh, it's 2.04. So 2.74, 0.04. Yeah, 1.338. Yeah, it's about 1. I mean, let's say 1.34 because we cannot make such precise numbers. So 1.34 and 305,000 divided by 1.34 is 228,000. Okay, we are kind of correct here. So the cycle top, in this case, if these ratios continue as they did until now, then it would be 228,000. So what does that mean now? Well, it means if the cycles are lengthening by a constant factor, like if we cannot count the first cycle, because the first cycle did not start because of a halving. The first cycle started because Bitcoin started trading even. It started trading in the first place on Mt. Gox in 2010. So if we cannot take this first cycle into account, then we would have the top in early June 2022. So how would that look? It would continue climbing and suddenly towards June, okay, I don't know if I'm drawing, yeah, kind of like this, right? Okay, we would wobble around, and you know that in the very end it starts accelerating like crazy. It's not always all the time super steep, but it gets really steep in the end. In every cycle we can see it, right? Here it got brutally steep in the first one. Here it got brutally steep, it wasn't so steep before, and here it also wasn't so steep, and then it got brutally steep, the rise in the very last portion of the cycle. So this would be also the case now. We would wobble around, not going berserk so much, and then bam, it would go completely crazy from March, April 2022 until we would reach the 237,000 that we said, or 238,000 that we said in early June 2022. Okay, that was the fast path. Let's draw it again. I'm not 100% satisfied. 200. Yeah. Okay. Now it's still, yeah. Well, it's a bit better than before. Kind of like this, you know, because we don't have. Bitcoin is getting a bit not as aggressive anymore. It's not doing these insane blow-off tops anymore. We can see a trend that the blow-off tops are getting more benign from time to time, right? So it would be some kind of like Wyckoff distribution pattern that we had here, right? It would be like some kind of, it would start to flatten and then we would go down. So maybe it would look something like this. So maybe already in March it should start accelerating. So if by March next year Bitcoin will start accelerating like crazy, then we see, Bitcoin is probably doing the cycle top in June 2022. If, however, this will not start and it will still wobble around like this, and it will start accelerating much later, like this here, then we know, Bitcoin will do the top with the first theory, the theory that we can take into account the first cycle duration and the duration of the second cycle as compared to the first one. And if we take the first cycle also into consideration, then we would have the cycle top in late 2022, so in December 2022, right? Let's make this path here the green one. Okay, so we now have the possible dates for the cycle top. So earliest in June 2022 and the latest in 1 year's time, Christmas 2022. What a nice Christmas present, right? So we would get a nice Christmas present in 1 year, and in both cases the probable cycle top would be around 228,000. Does this make sense? Is there like an important Fibonacci level? Let's check. Let's just check the Fibonacci levels. And let's make the full Fibonacci extension. And it would fit. Not perfectly, but it would be the 3.618 extension. Almost. We would almost reach the 3.618 extension, which goes to 253,000. So it's not completely unreasonable, right? It's not completely unreasonable. So these were my American Psycho considerations over Christmas. And now, how does this fit together with the macroeconomic trend? Because I mean, sure, it's nice to make some funny calculations with the Bitcoin cycles, but if the macroeconomy does not favor this view, then it doesn't make sense. So we have to look at the good old dollar index, right? We have to do this. We cannot, I'm every time surprised that people just look at Bitcoin and Bitcoin cycles as if it's like a fixed thing and don't take into account macroeconomic trends and dollar and stock market and so on, right? So what is the dollar doing? The dollar has been pumping for months now, for freaking months, okay? This thing is just on a rampage and it just doesn't want to stop. So this is the monthly chart. Bollinger Bands activated, stochastic RSI activated, and what can we see? It has been pumping almost continuously since December 2020. It's just pumping with a short intermediary dump in April and May 2021, but since then it's just climbing upwards in the monthly chart, which has led to the stochastic RSI in the monthly chart getting to overbought levels. Like the dollar index is now, the stochastic RSI is on freaking 100, okay? It's ultra overbought. Like this thing is insanely overbought. Also, what can we see? We can see that it's like getting to the upper Bollinger Band and there is resistance, okay? So this candle was pushed down, this candle is being pushed down, and the monthly close, we have today the 29th of December, so the candle close is already in 2 days. In 2 days the month will be over, then we have a new candle. So if it closes like this, there's a very high probability for a reversal to the middle Bollinger Band. This reversal would be, I don't know how long, we don't know exactly, but we can look to the past, what happened in similar situations. So last time we had some kind of resistance at the upper Bollinger Band is when we had this rally from January 2018 to December 2018, right? Almost 1 year. So what happened when it went to the upper Bollinger Band? Well, there was a reversal, but it wasn't long and it started pumping again. It wasn't long and the dollar index started rising again. So this was some kind of we can see it as a upway sideways-ish movement, upway sideways-ish, and then there was a huge dump, right? Then there was a huge dump in the dollar index. What happened before? Here, this doesn't count because here the Bollinger Band was already extremely narrow. So it started, a huge rally started in 2014 when the dollar index was already the Bollinger Band was already super narrow, which is not the case now. As you can see, the Bollinger Band was really wide here. It started from the lower Bollinger Band. It's more comparable with this situation. So let's look for other situations like this one. This here is another nice situation where we had very similar setup. So it started pumping in April 2011, went up to the Bollinger Band, then we had massive resistance here. Okay, in February 2012, it dumped down, it pumped again, but dumped again. So there was again, some kind of weird sideways-ish movement, right? It didn't manage to break through the upper Bollinger Band. Here, another beautiful situation where we had the same. It rallied massively from the lower Bollinger Band to the upper Bollinger Band, and then there was massive rejection and it jumped and it brutally dumped again. And then here another situation where it was very similar, and there we had massive dumps. And you can see basically that most of the times when we have a continuous rally without pause for a longer period of time, at the upper Bollinger Band, there almost always is some form of brutal rejection, right? Every time you can see it. And this happens as long as the Bollinger Band gets really narrow. But is the Bollinger Band already really narrow? No, it's not. It is not. So there will be some kind of rejection here. Now, will it be some upward sideways kind of movement like here? Or will it be more like here or here? We don't know. But this is what will be very important to understand what will happen with Bitcoin. But if our Bitcoin theories are correct, then the dollar index should at some point in January, February, or I don't know what, or depending on when the rally phase for Bitcoin starts, it might go sideways now. And if the peak will be, as we said, in early June, then it should start already dumping soon, and probably in January or something. And the dump will then last until June 2022. So it would look something like this. We go up here and then it will start dumping, and this will be the enabler for our nice Bitcoin rally. If another picture, so if the other Bitcoin picture is true, so that we have the cycle top in 1 year, then what will happen is we will go sideways. Now we get more rejection, and then it will just start dumping later in the year, and we get then the low sometime in December, in December or January 2022, something like this. So I can see those two scenarios, right? So in the first picture it goes up now and then starts dumping. In the second picture it goes sideways-ish and starts dumping later. So this is my current picture, and this is how I personally see this happening. This will be the enabler of the final phase of this bull cycle, which will be surprisingly longer for many people. Not for us, of course, who watch this channel, because we're so much smarter than the other ones. No, joking aside. What did I want to say now? So many people will be surprised, basically, how much longer this cycle is than the last ones. Why? Because they are noobs. They came into the market. What did they see? One market cycle, maybe tops, since 2017, and then they think like, oh, every cycle is 4 years long, because the one cycle I witnessed was 4 years long, so every cycle is 4 years long. So this logic is like, I don't know. Extrapolating from one data set. Like extrapolating from one data set is always very, very smart, like very good. No, we have now 3 data sets. We have the first cycle, second cycle, third cycle. So this is a lot better now, and this allows us to make these predictions. And I repeat, let's go back to the Bitcoin Liquid Index, what we calculated. So one possible top is in early June 2022 at 228,000, if I remember correctly. And the other one is in December 2022 at around 228,000. And we can, of course, also get something in between. It's not said that this is like a super precise science. So we can also see something like this. Okay, this wobble wasn't drawn beautifully, but you know what I mean. We can also see something in between. So, Bitcoin cycle top from now half a year in the future, June 2022 to December 2022. For the altcoins, this means, of course, a delay of 1 month. So if Bitcoin has the cycle top in June 2022, consequently, of course, the altcoins have the top 1 month later in July. And if Bitcoin does a cycle top as late as Christmas 2022, then we could have the latest altcoins having the top incredibly in late January. In late January 2023. So the top for some altcoins is like in early 2023. That's still far away. So people saying like, oh, this altcoin hasn't performed, it's missing the bull market. Those people have no idea what they are talking about. None whatsoever. Okay, none. So those are my psycho considerations over Christmas, like when I had time to think a bit about coins. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm talking a bit of shit in between because I don't know, I'm just a weird person. And I still hope you enjoyed this video, friends of cryptocurrencies. And guten Rutsch, you know, a good slide into the next year. Have a nice New Year's Eve, and I would say now see you next year, because that will be when I will upload the next video in some point in early January next year, because I don't do daily updates. It's too much. Like in this boring market, weekly updates are currently absolutely enough. So have a nice time and see you in the next video.